Let them hate so long as they fear. We praise the artistry of statues, clay of the earth turned a story without words. Yet is it worth the praise at all if there's so much of a history that it forgets to say? Thomas Picton, immortalized as a hero of war and respected for his courage, a man who evaded being punished for torturing, decapitating and burning slaves alive. Not because he was innocent of these crimes, but because he exploited the fact that the people of these nations had no rule or law over themselves. And so his crimes were deemed victimless by a justice system that had colonized his victims. The most notable being 14-year-old Louisa Calderon, who was subjected to torture for about 22 minutes. A particular kind of evil, so unique to Picton that it was named after himself, though that's a piece of history that is laid to rest on shelves. Picketing, or Pictoning. Tie an arm to the ceiling, tie a foot to an arm, lower the pulley and watch the victim endure the feeling of their entire body weight forced onto a wooden spike. He waged his tyranny on enslaved and free people alike, and although he was known as the tyrant of Trinidad and the blood-stained governor, when they erected his statue along with a plaque, those are the names they chose not to write. The objective good a man may do somehow marks all of his wrongs right. I fear statues may only be a way to hide dark histories amongst lumps of clay and carve pretty lines around ugly truths. Let them hate so long as they fear. Choose what they remember and what they forget. Wait for their children's children's children to make you regret ever championing a man in such plain sight, whose legacy was not built upon preserving life, but rather causing unnecessary harm. So, if we must have a statue of Sir Thomas Picton, let it be him, arm to the ceiling, foot to an arm, lowered on the pulley, like his victims who endured the feeling of their entire body weight forced onto a wooden spike. He may not have been brought to justice for his crimes and must forever dwell in that debt. Yet, it is a courtesy of his victims and our responsibility to choose what we remember and what we forget.
I once had a friend say to me that this country has a fetish for what they think is bravery. Their history doesn't exist outside of evil and knavery, and they want from everyone the same naivety that they crave from me. Men like Thomas Picton depicted in beautiful masonry, even though his life was a depiction of slavery. In those history lessons where they indoctrinated me, I didn't realize that hero, that's a word they use aimlessly. So when I speak about this country, don't expect me to speak gracefully about a place where their heroes are men who had hate for me. In their eyes, a critical thinker thinks dangerously, so I will speak the truth regardless of what they label me. I guess worshipping evil is part of the culture. So if I worship slave masters, does that make me a vulture? I could take you around the city. The tour would never end. Statues in Trafalgar Square depicting racist men. In St. Paul's Cathedral, you can find Thomas Picton's face. I don't think Paul would have approved if Paul was a saint. A legacy so horrific you would have thought it was fiction. A monument of a slave master that made children his victims. A hero is someone who is admired for amazing qualities and achievements. In this country, there are no boundaries to what they're achieving. A legacy on this earth that calls nothing but grieving. If Thomas Picton is a hero, then what are they really teaching?
A villain is defined as a person who is responsible for crime or damage. A hero is a person who is admired for their courage, achievements, or noble qualities. How is there such confusion as to which one of these labels applies? In a history shrouded with lies and a poignant smell of guilt, a false narrative is written where a monument is built. For how many decades can we deny and dance through deceit, determined to keep devilish details discreet? Thomas Picton was a man of war, mostly remembered for being the highest ranking official to die at Waterloo, mostly forgotten for his governorship in Trinidad. Any man given the same power as God, the power of life and death, will eventually succumb to it and abuse its strength. When wealth is weighed up to worth, there is always space for greed. In 10 years, Over 18,000 souls were brought in by the British to build what we know today as great. Sugarcane exports doubling profits. Like many plantation owners, Picton was cruel and brutal in his regime. Africans were imprisoned, stripped of traditions, and punished when practicing spirituality. In 1801, twisted tales came undone accusing Picton of torture. The victim was 14-year-old Louisa Caldron, suspected of committing a robbery. With one arm tied to the ceiling of a cell and her body balancing on a singular barefooted toe, she was imprisoned for 8 months. Wealth weighs more than worth, and so after £40,000 is paid by army friends and fellow slave owners, a dark history is lost, reducing Louisa to yet another case of unfilled justice. A war hero washes his hands of crimes against man, and the world erases this truth, replacing the voices of those who fell under his hand with secrets wrapped tightly within a noose. History must be uprooted to uncover its destructive roots, so at last the true villains in this story will not be up for dispute.